Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayan Nashtiprayesha Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakta Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kamaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavati Pashatade Shatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gautasve Namah Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Canto 4, Chapter 11. Swayambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting. Neeraj, pick this mic, bring it here. इसको उठा के इधर रखो. It's coming on my way to sing Bhagavat. हरे कृष्णा. से बहुत खूबसूरत चैप्टर है. दिस इज़ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल और इसमें बहुत सारी शिक्षाएं भी हैं. सो रीडिंग द फर्स्ट वर्स, श्रीमद् भागवतम 4th canto 11th chapter. मैत्रेय उवाच निशमया गततामेवं ऋषिणा धनुषे ध्रुवः सन्दधेयस्त्रम् उपस्पृश्य यन्नारायणानिर्मितम्. So हमने पिछले सत्र में देखा था that how Yakshas, while they were almost getting defeated, then they had deployed mystic powers, जिसके कारण ध्रुव महाराज विचलित हो गए. He couldn't understand what's happening and he got a little bit terrified. So we concluded the point. This is almost same like how Maya bewilders us at all the time. जिस प्रकार से ध्रुव महाराज bewilder हो गए. And then what was the rescue for Dhruva Maharaj, or what protected Dhruva Maharaj, was the arrival of sadhus. उसी प्रकार से हमें हमारे जीवन में we need the constant shelter of Sadhu Samaj, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And what did those sages did? They came and reminded Dhruva Maharaj of Narayan Astra or Narayan Kavach. I mean, there is a whole Narayan Kavach in Srimad Bhagavatam, but in simplest form, it is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. उस प्रकार से उल्लेख आता है. अब आगे चर्चा आती है. तो ध्रुव महाराज ने क्या किया? So in this translation it is said, My dear Vidura, when Dhruva Maharaj heard the encouraging words of the great sages, he performed the Achman by touching water and then took up his arrow made by Lord Narayan and fixed it upon his bow. Oh, really? The weapon made by Lord Narayan, what does it mean? Puppet. Dhruva Maharaj was given a specific arrow made by Lord Narayan himself, and he now fixed it upon his bow to finish the illusory atmosphere created by the Yakshas. So, well, he had the Narayan weapon. Do we have the Narayan weapon? That is the holy name Sadhana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give us that astra. So he is in the fight. So Narayan had given him a weapon for that purpose to destroy the enemies. For us, we are in a constant battle with Maya. And what is the astra that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us? The holy names of the Lord. So here looks like Dhruva Maharaj had forgotten about it. And who reminded? Sadhus. So what is the job profile of sadhus? To remind people to take shelter of holy name. जब जीवन में विपदा आए, संकट आए, कुछ समझ नहीं आए क्या करना चाहिए, तो उस समय क्या करना चाहिए? भगवान की शरण लेनी चाहिए. And the same thing is happening with Dhruva Maharaj. He is reminded of using that weapon. Text number 2. The moment Dhruva Maharaj shot that arrow, as soon as Dhruva Maharaj joined the Narayana Astra arrow to his bow, the illusion created by the Yaksha was immediately vanquished. Just as all material pains and pleasures are vanquished when one becomes fully cognizant of the self. फिर क्या हुआ? Text number 3. Even as Dhruva Maharaj fixed the weapon made by Narayan Rishi onto his bow, arrows with golden shafts and feathers like the wings of a swan flew out from it. They entered the enemy soldiers with a great hissing sound, just as peacocks enter a forest with a tumultuous crowing. So सबसे पहले जैसे उन्होंने नारायण अस्त्र धनुष में लगाया, तो जितना इल्यूशन था पहले वो समाप्त हो गया. और अब उस नारायण अस्त्र को लगाते ही उस धनुष से अनेक अनेक बाण निकलने लगे. And they started piercing the body of yakshas. Those sharp arrows dismayed the enemy soldiers, who became almost unconscious, but various yakshas on the battlefield in a rage against Dhruva Maharaj somehow or other collected their weapons and attacked. Just as serpents agitated by Garud rushed towards Garud with upraised hoods, all the yaksha soldiers prepared to overcome Dhruva Maharaj with their upraised weapons. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Ityadi, etc. The verse goes on. So, we don't know how the chanting of the holy names of the Lord functions. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said it functions. It will cleanse your heart. Now, here it was one astra, one arrow which Dhruva Maharaj had put on the bow. And now from that, we have hundreds and thousands of arrows of shafts shooting out. So, just like Dhruva Maharaj keeping a faith or putting faith on the words of Sadhu, acted upon it, similarly, we act by putting a faith on the words of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. When Dhruva Maharaj saw the Yakshas coming forward, he immediately took his arrows and cut the enemies to pieces. Very interesting. Separating their arms, legs, heads, and bellies from their bodies, text number 5. So now, where do you expect this yakshas to go? अब यक्षा को मार दिया गया है, उनको कहाँ जाना चाहिए? It's an interesting verse. Yakshas, they are followers of Lord Shiva, and they come in Asuric Pravati, Asuric category. So where should they be going? Very interesting. The verse says, Varjanti nirbhidya yam urdhvarit saha. They got that Vrajanti, they got that destination which a Pakka Brahmachari gets. So I'll tell you what's the concept here. So they deliver Dhruva Maharaj delivered the Yakshas to the planetary system, which is situated above the sun globe. above the sun globe, which means really the highest position now, and which is attainable only by the first class brahmacharis who have never discharged their semen. So the question comes, why would this demons get such a high destination? And Prabhupada writes in the purport, receiving a punishment from the hands of the Lord or from the devotees. Of course, if this was a case of getting a punishment from the hands of the Lord, they would have got moksha. Even by getting a punishment from the hands of the devotees, they get elevated. Is that sinking what's happening here? Let me give you an example, and you can think there are many other examples. Nad Muni cursing Nal Kuvera Manigriva. Did that punishment and curse degraded them or elevated them? What happened? Elevated. Think of other examples like that. So, when anything that is done by a devotee in that context, devotee here refers to nirmasarana, non-envious. So when a devotee acts on that platform, सामने वाले का कभी पतन हो ही नहीं सकता, उसकी केवल उन्नति होनी है. And look what happened to the yakshas. Then you go to the lower planetary system where they went, which will be attained by somebody. Now they were not even close to the word brahmachari, yakshas, and they got the destination. That is the point Prabhupada mentions in the purport. And the last paragraph the Prabhupada mentions, this is the power of brahmacharya. You worship God or do not worship God, does not matter. If just you have controlled your mind and senses and been able to practice brahmacharya to this degree, pakka brahmacharya, after death, you go to this higher destination. So Prabhupada talks about the importance of brahmacharya for that purpose. Alright, text number 6. Now begins a very interesting discussion. Swayambhuva Manu, the grandfather, the father of Uttanapad, the grandfather of Dhruva, he appears at the battlefield. Text number 6. When Swayambhuva Manu saw that his grandson Dhruva Maharaj was killing so many of the yakshas who were not actually offenders, out of his great compassion, he approached Dhruva with great sages to give him good insight. You can come from here. Too much. The devotee sitting will be difficult. Just help open the door. Sorry, I'll read it again. When Swayambhuva Manu saw that his grandson Dhruva Maharaj was killing so many of the yakshas who were not actually offenders, out of his great compassion, he approached Dhruva with great sages to give him good instruction. So now this is the section of anger management. Krodh kitna dikhana chahiye? Can you all come forward? The ladies on the back. So krodh kitna dikhana chahiye aur kitna us par niyantran karna chahiye. So we'll do a little exercise. There are 6 enemies. You might want to write it down. There are things which there are certain things which we need to memorize. So there are 6 enemies: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mat, Matsarya. तो शास्त्र के अनुसार इनको हराने का क्या क्या तरीका है? How do we deal with it? Let's start with Kama. How can you defeat lust? What's the solution?
Continuous volition.
Okay. Constant chanting holy name is the solution for all. वो हमारा रामबाण. Okay, agreed. Thank you for that. But what's the thing?
Getting spiritual desires.
Okay. What else? Calm.
Love.
So, love what?
Love for devotees.
Yeah, love for devotees. Unless, please know this point, unless you love devotees, it's literally not possible to love the Lord. Because love means seva. Unless we develop the service attitude with some relationship here, we really cannot have that, manifest that. सो प्रेम, प्रेम मतलब सेवा. सो काम वासना का तोड़ है सेवा भाव. ओके. काम, क्रोध पे बाद में आएंगे कि क्रोध का विषय है, तो वो बाद में लेंगे आखिरी में. लोभ, व्हाट्स द एंटीडोट फॉर लोभ? ग्रीड. ओके. चैरिटी. यस प्रभु. क्या हुआ? अच्छा चैरिटी. व्हाट हैपेंड? उन्होंने हाथ खड़ा कर बोला नहीं. ग्रीड, ग्रीड. हाउ डू यू काउंटरैक्ट ग्रीड? Okay, lolium. Lolium has two meanings for that. Okay, greedy for devotional service. What else? So yeah, greed means, so it begins with काम वासना, transforming that into seva, and now greed means ये दिल मांगे more. So what we should be greedy for? ये दिल मांगे more seva. Yeah, so seva. So that's also service. So yeah. So kama, krodh, lobha. Krodh we haven't discussed. Kama, krodh, lobha. Moha. How do you counteract moha? Antidote. Illusion. Somebody else. We have not said. What about online audience? How do you defeat illusion? What's the antidote for illusion? अरे भगवान ने भगवत गीता किस लिए बोली थी? अर्जुन के मोह को समाप्त करने के लिए ना. सो व्हाट यू नीड? ट्रांसेंडेंटल नॉलेज. इतना क्या सोच रहे हो? आई डोंट नो व्हाई यू आर गेटिंग वरीड अबाउट इट. मोहा इज डिफीटेड बाय कल्टिवेटिंग ट्रांसेंडेंटल नॉलेज. काम क्रोध मोह, काम क्रोध लोभ मोह. मद, मद मीन्स प्राइड. सो मद, मद को कैसे काउंटरैक्ट? व्हाट इज द एंटीडोट फॉर मद? प्राइड. Okay. Okay. What else? What else? Mad, pride. Yes?
Menial service.
Menial services. That's a good way. Service. That means if I have written something here, pride. Yeah.
Cultivating gratitude.
Cultivating gratitude. Okay. So, mad is, yes?
Just be in the association of devotee, you cannot remain power.
Okay, association. So, doing menial service, I would say, is very important. Everyone should have, some menial service. And second last is matsarya, envy. मात्सर्य से निर्मत सरानाम कैसे बनना है? Appreciation. Okay, yeah. Appreciation. What else? What is the prescribed way of to counteract envy? Being grateful.
Look at the good in others.
Look at the good in others. But देखने के साथ साथ फिर तारीफ भी करनी चाहिए. Then you engage more senses. So appreciation was the first thing. That's the first thing that comes. Okay, being grateful. Prabhupada, I mean, we're talking at one level, but Prabhupada will speak about dovetailing all of this. Let's talk about dovetailing now. How would you dovetail envy? Yes, Jonathan Prabhu?
Envy is something which cannot be doubted.
No, envy can be dovetailed. It is, what is that? Dovetail, no, envy can be also dovetailed. Envy cannot be dovetailed. Anger can be dovetailed? Yeah, anger was a thing. Anger dovetailed. So envy cannot be dovetailed. Okay. So, okay, let's talk about dovetailing other things. Well, that will become too complicated and lengthy. So let's come to anger, because there's a topic of anger management. What to do about anger?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, the way Hanumanji uses anger to destroy Lanka.
Yes. So that is what Prabhupada says in the first verse of Upadeshamrita. Hanumanji, Arjun. So use anger. So Prabhupada says anger cannot be given up. So anger has to be, anger has to be dovetailed. That is Prabhupada writes over there. So anger has to be utilized. But here something interesting is happening. Now Dhruv Maharaj is actually utilizing his anger because his brother Uttama have been killed. Now question comes, it is mentioned dovetail. Someone will ask, how much you want to dovetail? That is the point here. Now you can't say, भाई dovetail बोला था मैं dovetail करूँगा. And Dhruva Maharaj goes on into a rampage, killing so many yakshas, for which Swayambhava. So that's the point here. How much, that is also matters. So that's a discussion. We'll take it forward now. All right, text number 7. Now Swayambhava Manu says, "My dear son, please stop. It is not good to become unnecessarily angry. It is a path to hellish life. Now you're going beyond the limit of killing yakshas, who are actually not offenders." So beautiful purport. In this verse, the word ati roshana means unnecessary anger. You have excessive anger. Ati roshana. Ati, bahut adhik. When Dhruva Maharaj went beyond the limits of necessary anger, his grandfather immediately came to protect him from further sinful actions. Next paragraph. A Kshatriya is allowed to kill only for the maintenance of the law and order of the state. अभी ध्यान दीजिएगा, I'm going to come to a very important point shortly. Look at how it's building up. He is not allowed to kill or commit violence without reason. Violence is certainly a path leading to the hellish condition of life, but is also required for the maintenance of the law and order of the state. The last line of the purport. When a nation is attacked by its enemies, the wholesale slaughter of the citizens should be taken as a reaction to their own sinful activities. That is nature's law. So again I'll repeat, so you capture what's happening. Here Dhruva Maharaj is in a fight with yakshas. Swayambhava Manu comes and he says, Dhruva, excess बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया अभी. Now you got to stop. And the reasoning given is because, which Manu will say further, just for the sake of one brother, for which one or few yakshas were responsible, you are about to destroy whole of yaksha's race. Does any instance comes in the history where the similar kind of a warning was given? Just for one, you are literally destroying the whole species. Yes, Paramprabhu. Parshuram ji in which context? So who warned him? Nobody warned him. Who was warned? Yes, brother. Janmajaya. Janmajaya, the grandson. तो जब परीक्षित महाराज के पुत्र, when परीक्षित का निधन होता है, तो he becomes extremely angry because there was a takshak bird, snake bird. So he organized a yajna where brahmanas began to chant mantras which began to pull all the snakes from the whole universe to the fire. And then who appeared? Brahmaji appeared. Brahmaji said, this is too much, because for one snake bird you can't do it. I believe Indra had come first, and not Indra had come, Indra wanted to protect Takshak. Takshak, right? So he was, so here the mantras are pulling him, and there Indra was holding him. So he was just not getting. So when the sages said, Indra Dev is doing like this, so he said, okay, एक देवता के लिए आहुति डाल दो. So that's the time Brahmaji came. He said, what are you doing? एक के लिए तुम सबको थोड़ा ना. Something like was a story that comes in the Mahabharata like that. So that's the point being discussed here, and then we'll go to the next one, which is very important. So Prabhupada purport में लिखते हैं, Dhruva Maharaj went beyond the limits of necessary anger. However, violence is required to maintain law and order, but the law and order the violence should not be used without reason. But that's the whole catch. The violence, when you get into it, there is no more reasoning. And therefore you see Dhruva Maharaj also being a pure devotee of the Lord, he got carried away. It's a very difficult thing. I'll come to what I'm intending to speak. Text number 8. Now he says, my dear son, the killing of the sinless yakshas which you have undertaken is not at all approved by authorities, and it does not befit our family, which is supposed to know the laws of religion and religion. So Swayambhuva Manu के द्वारा मनु समिता उसके द्वारा नियम बनाए जाते हैं कि मनुष्य को किस प्रकार से जीना है, व्हाट इज़ राइट, व्हाट इज़ रॉन्ग, उस प्रकार से स्वयं वो मनु यहाँ पे कह रहे हैं. So my question here is, there are two kind of side of perspectives when it comes to Hindu or Sanatan theology. One is the path of ahimsa, and then there is a path of himsa. Whenever Lord has appeared, there is some himsa that has occurred. Yet it is said we are the follower of ahimsa. Despite being the follower of ahimsa, Krishna asked Arjuna to get up and fight. It seems contradictory. How do you reconcile? When Krishna asked Arjuna to fight, what did it mean? This is a little difficult question, but are you getting the point? I'll repeat myself. Let me put it this way. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Who has established, Buddha emphasized a lot. This comes in Mahabharata. But the point is, Lord also says, there has to be forgiveness. These are the qualities which are highlighted the most. But the same Lord comes as Nasimha, kills Hiranyakashipu, comes as Vara, kills Hiranyaksha, comes as Ram, kills Ravana. And it's not a one-to-one combat. It's not that Lord had only killed Hiranyakashipu. So many others were killed. With Ravan, so many others were killed. At Mahabharata, we know 60 crore people were killed. Prabhupada said 60 crore were something which we know died. So many disappeared. Got vaporized in the battlefield because of the use of certain weapons. We don't know how much of the count of it. So, how do we understand this concept? Despite Krishna asking Arjuna to do violence, yet it was non-violence. I'll repeat myself. Krishna asking Arjuna to commit violence, yet it was non-violence. It was not violence. And one reason Prabhupada have already given, to maintain law and order, violence is allowed. So then it is not a violence, it's an act of non-violence only because you're promoting non-violence. Last evening or day before evening, I was hearing to this one news clip of some Israeli foreign minister or somebody, and he was saying a very interesting point. He said, please do not overlook history. When that guy with the little mustache was walking around Europe talking about his hatred towards Jews, nobody paid attention to him. And look what happened in 1939. He started the butchering of the Jews, which led to the Second World War. 6 million Jews died and 60 million others died in the Second World War. So that guy was with a little mustache, Hitler. And then he said, similarly, we have this mullah with ballistic missiles. He is publicly saying, not from now, from decades, since 1979 they came into power, they are saying from decades, our aim is to kill Israel. Our aim is to kill Israel. Now imagine if we allow these mullahs, they have already got ballistic missile in their hand, a nuclear bomb. What have we learned from the history? It will definitely lead to the destruction of Israel. It will lead to the Third World War, which is unavoidable. And then he said the very interesting point. We defending our nation is actually defending and protecting the whole world from the Third World War. Very interesting. I'm not in the favor of something, but I'm just trying to make what it seems to be a violence actually may be the means for the non-violence. Externally may appear violence, but actually it may be the means for non-violence because you're preventing of bigger violence, and which would be unrestricted violence. So Krishna asking Arjuna to fight was an act of violence, but again it was non-violence because the goal was non-violence. So that's a point which has been already highlighted. What else? How would you say it was an act of non-violence? This is difficult.
Non-violence in a way that if you do not kill those people who are of the demonic propensity, they basically prevent others to follow their religious practices and all of those.
So that all comes under violence. Okay. Yes, Madhurshmi. Mic. Always get the mic.
It was the will of the Lord, Prabhuji.
Okay, will of the Lord. Yeah, this is another Rambad. Okay. Yes, she's rather true.
Yeah, in the context of Prabhupada's purport about non-violence. So Prabhupada says Actually, violence is not preaching. So if we say non-violence would be means preaching is going on. So if such nonsensical people are there, they'll definitely not allow dharma to prevail.
So wait, again,
killing them
violence is leading to non-violence because we are destroying adharma,
Yes.
which is true, which is not the same.
And one more thing is established through this, that like Krishna says ki there is incidents of Mahabharata that when Karna was going up and coming down from chariot again and again to
What is the point of Krishna, correct?
avoid the confrontation with Arjuna, because he was getting loose, he was getting fearful, because he could not use his special astras because of curse. So then Krishna told him that now this is the right time, because that adharma people is using dharma to say ki abhi I am not on the chariot, so you should not kill me, but now this is the right time. So when he was balancing the that wheel, he was told to that now this is the time, kill him, because such thing will prevail adharma.
Again, the same thing. The act of violence would ensure law and justice. Again, the same thing, and it will lead to a further non-violence. And that's the first thing. And second thing is very important to understand. When Krishna asked Arjuna to fight, he inspired Arjuna to fight on the context of justice, not on the context of revenge. That's the difference. Not even one verse or one word in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna reminded Arjuna of the brutal past at the hands of Kauravas. अगर वो याद दिलाया जाता तो अर्जुन के मन में revengeful attitude आता. But all through Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about Swadharma. You are a Kshatriya. Arjuna, get up and perform the dharma of Kshatriya. You getting the difference? So that's a major difference. That's a major difference. Why am I acting? Not out of revenge. So generally, अभी आप अगर आप देखेंगे, okay, let's talk about Israel and what Iran conflict is going on. So there is a revenge involved into it, because they bomb me, I bomb them. There's a revenge back and forth. What happened in India and Pakistan? I'm not saying there is a art of it, but the point here is what Krishna is saying, or what Krishna told Arjuna. You are a Kshatriya. Your duty is to prevail justice. Therefore, when Arjuna said, again I have said this many times, when Arjuna said, my dear Lord, you say Ante Kalajam Ameva, अभी मैं उसके संग युद्ध लड़ूंगा. अगर आपको किसी को मारना है तो आपके हृदय में कितनी नफरत होनी चाहिए उसके प्रति, तभी तो उसको मारोगे. And Arjuna had all the reason to have all the bitterness towards the Kauravas. But what did Krishna said? In the 8th chapter, verse number 7, Arjun, fight. How? Tasma sarveshu kaleshu maam anusmarai. Mera smana karte ho maro. Which means it's a matter of duty to fulfill justice, as Krishna is asking to prevail justice. So even in that violence is the non-violence, because your heart is not contaminated. And that's the point. So now here looks like Swayambhu Manu, when he's saying excessive, Dhruva Maharaj is not in the mood of justice. Dhruva Maharaj is in the mood of revenge. That's the point. That's the point. Otherwise, how do you define what is excess, what is not excess? So Swayambhu Manu is saying you've got excessive, which means तुम्हें justice देना था, you should have fought, correct. Then you should have killed who killed Uttama. That is a fight for justice. That violence is permitted. But now the violence that you're committing is revenge. And Dhruva, it is not good. You're killing them. I mean, Dhruva can ask, so what is the big problem? देखो उनको मैं जन्नत भेज रहा हूँ. हाँ या ना? उनको तो अच्छी गति मिल रही है, पर यहाँ पे नुकसान किसका हो रहा है? Dhruva Maharaj. Therefore, Swayambhu Manu came. Is that picture clear? Therefore, Swayambhu Manu came and said, now this is becoming excessive, out of control, because तुम्हारे मरने से उनका तो कल्याण हो रहा है, पर पतन किसका हो रहा है? You're getting it because you have got into revengeful mentality. That's the main point here. That's a distinguishing factor in our action. When similarly, when we are, let's say we are correcting, punishing somebody or whatever thing is it been done with an intention of justice, or it is done with an intention of revenge? So that we have to be careful. And at least, at our level, we might in that situation might get easily carried away in ignorance. Ignorance lead to this kind of revengeful attitude like that. Yeah, go ahead. Mike, please. I'll just read the text number 9 in the meantime. See what Swayambhu Manu says. My dear son, text number 9. It has been proved that you have very much affection towards your brother and greatly aggrieved that he has been killed by the Yakshas. But just consider, for one Yaksha's offense, you have killed many others who are innocent. Innocent, which means there's a revenge going on. He's not talking justice. If it was justice, why would you call innocent? So now the battle has moved from the battle of justice to the battle of revenge. That was the concern of, but it's not been so vocally written. So I want to draw that parallel for you. Yes, mother, go ahead.
Prabhuji, you were saying right now that
One more verse, because it's in line with this discussion. Look what text number 10, Swayambhu says. One should not accept the body as a self and thus, like the animals, kill the body of others. This is especially forbidden by a saintly person who follow the path of devotional service to the Supreme Personality Godhead. If you don't understand this concept, then the question could be, here Swayambhu Manu is saying not kill, there Krishna is saying kill. What's the difference? Justice versus revenge. That's the difference over here. Now it's all clear, please go ahead.
So, Prabhuji, you were saying right now that sometimes we may get carried away, with revengeful attitude, just like Dhruv Maharaj got carried away. But what happens most of the time is that even if we get carried away, we are still justifying our actions in terms of this thing.
Therefore,
so how
you can't fix it.
That's what
Dhruva could not fix it. You need the help of a third person. That's how I started the class. We need shelter of Guru Sadhu Shastra. You cannot fix your case. See, Arjuna could not fix his case. Dhruva Maharaj could not fix his case. So many examples. Vyasdev could not fix his case. Yudhishthira Maharaj could not fix his case. We need.
So you mean when we are when our behavior is like this, that we try to do things, we need to go and approach somebody.
You anyways will not approach.
So we should wait for someone to come and tell us.
No, that will also you will not accept. It's a very valid question he's asking.
Then how should we understand?
Now that is my question to all of you now. I'll repeat what Masham will be saying. So the point of discussion is when we are into this degraded consciousness, we would not know, and what we'll do? Justify. 100% agree? No doubt about it. So we're going to justify. Then how do we solve it? I said you can't solve it on your own. It is beyond your capacity, because the mind is going to trick you to justify your action. That's what mind does. That's the job role of mind, conditioned mind. You need superior guidance. So now the next part of superior guidance, is it something that I'm going to go and ask? I said, you will not ask. I mean, therefore, in the second chapter, if you remember, if you heard, I glorify Arjuna. I say the glory of Arjuna is his humility, because of which he realized and he asked. How many asked for guidance? We will continue justifying what we are doing. So I said, you will not ask. So if you will not ask, would the senior will come to you? Even if he comes, you will not hear to him. So what is the solution? Yes, Shri Sanatan.
Like you share in mind management, once that first step is done, Vishyan, once that contemplation is started.
What is the solution for this person?
Similarly, I am saying that now being in the situation is not right perspective to think. We want actually solution, so solution is training. Like if I talk about youths,
still
like
I'm saying, okay,
taking guidance is part of training. It's not instant that immediately
which
now.
Is true.
So
if you are into that situation now, what could be the only saving grace? So Shri Sanatana was saying training.
Ahetuki Kripa project, like in that case of Dhruv Maharaj.
Okay, one word answer. Ahetuki Kripa or training.
Of Vaishnavas. Yes.
Huh?
Of Vaishnavas. If there are nearby.
Okay. What else would be needed?
One thing we can do is introspection later on. But then later on तो हो गया है. हाँ.
सब जगह introspection करोगे. आग लगाने को introspection का पैदा ही किया. ठीक है, you can be a little bit like Parikshit Maharaj. Why did I put a snake? That's okay. But by the time you already got a curse to die.
Exactly.
So when life is going nice, that is the time Krishna is giving to us to prepare for the crisis. Just before the class, I was making the point to the devotees here also. When you are having things going fine, don't take it for granted. Actually, Krishna has given you time to breathe, to prepare yourself for crisis. Now, how would you prepare for the crisis? My question. What do you need to do to prepare for the crisis? Okay, let me ask this question. Of course, we would not have that, kind of thought at the back of mind. Do you realize, or at least agree, that there is a crisis waiting all of us? Yes. Raise your hand who acknowledge, at least theoretically believe there is a crisis waiting. Give me one example of crisis that you think waiting for you. Give me one crisis. Bolo Apurva, what is a crisis waiting? Quick.
Body is changing. The body is changing disease and
Old age? Okay. What else crisis waiting? That is still okay. That is not still, I would say crisis. That's still okay because that's natural. Yes, crisis. Death, no. That is also not. You can't do anything about it.
Any financial crisis?
Okay, financial crisis. Health issues, okay, serious health issues, not just old age, but serious breakdown. Serious health issues, financial crisis. What else?
attack of Maya.
Death of?
Attack of Maya. Maya is waiting. Week.
Okay, crisis, because you will not understand that when you are attacked by Maya. Crisis, death of dear ones. What will you do at that point of time? Tab sab kuch, you'll be totally shattered. You'll be totally shattered that point of time. It's good to say na jayate mriyate vakadacha. जब बीतती है तब actually उसका एहसास होता है क्या है. It's not that easy. When the things are good, we can speak and quote about it. When you'll be in that circumstances, when your dear ones, what could be the dear ones for Brahmachari? Is his parents only. And in that, only one of them have passed away and another is remaining. Now he got to do something about it. It's a crisis because they can't stay alone. It's such a crisis. And many times Brahmachari change ashram because they cannot handle that crisis. This is a time to prepare. What are you preparing for? How are you preparing? Now my question is, okay, you understood liberal crisis. What preparation you have to do? What is one thing that you need to focus now? Will not help.
Relationship.
What you need is that relationship who you're giving the right when you're lost. Even if you don't ask for him, he comes and tells you, you say, Prabhu, I trust you. Because unless you have built a trustworthy relationship and invested in that relationship today, you will not have a time to invest in a relationship on the battlefield. Did Arjuna have a time to invest in a relationship with Krishna at the battlefield? No. All what he invested was before. Therefore, he could take shelter of Krishna. So what we need now is to invest in a relationship. Even if I don't ask, if that person comes and tells me, I'm willing to listen. Why? Because he is a representative of Krishna for me. He is a representative Guru for me. Or he is the Guru for me, whatever we say. That is what we need to prepare when the life is going good. Because crisis is awaiting each and every one of us. And when it is, and if you don't have that one person who is senior, peer is also good, at least to have peer something, devotee good friend is good. But if you have that senior, that is something can be our saving grace like that. Okay? So that answers your question? Yeah? Fine. So, yeah. Text number 10, purport, last few lines. Dhruva Maharaj is advised here by Lord Manu that he is a pure servitor of the Lord. Why should he unnecessarily engage like the animals in the bodily concept of life? Okay, that we have read about it. Yeah. Text number 11. It is very difficult to achieve. So see, now you understand the point of justice and revenge. Look what Swayambhu Manu is saying. It is very difficult to achieve the spiritual abode of Hari in the Vaikuntha planets. But you are so fortunate that you are already destined to go to that abode by worshipping him as the supreme abode of all living entities. Purport writes in the purport, in the middle of the purport. Dhruva Maharaj as a Kshatriya could have argued with his grandfather Manu when Manu requested him to stop fighting. But even though Dhruva could have argued that as a Kshatriya it was his duty to fight with the enemy, he was informed that since every living entity is a residence of the Supreme Lord and can be considered temple of the Lord, the unnecessary killing of any living entity is not permitted. Unnecessary means revenge. Excessive means revenge, like that. And Prabhupada mentioning he could have argued. So which means this is the level of relationship. Yes, sir. How much ever I feel I'm right. Yes, sir. Our Maya is a challenge, but I'll tell you, when you're growing more in Krishna consciousness, Maya will always remain a challenge. When you're growing in Krishna consciousness, you'll have a more prominent challenge. Any guesses what it would be? And that would always keep acting as a bottleneck for you. Is our narrow thinking. Our narrow thinking. What is narrow thinking and broad-minded? Narrow thinking is my point of view. The person cannot accept others' point of view. जो मैं सोचता हूँ, जो दिखता है वही सही है. And that becomes a bottleneck and obstruction in our service attitude. Because if you are told to do something, और वो आपके अगर point of view से match नहीं हो रहा है, you will not do it. And the challenge that we have, even within ISKCON, with our leadership also, is of narrow-mindedness. ये मेरा सेंटर है, ये मेरे शिष्य हैं, ये मेरा समाज है, बस मुझे इसका संरक्षण करना है, मुझे किसी और से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. This is narrow-mindedness. ये मेरा गुरु भाई है, ये मेरा गुरु है, मेरा गुरु भाई है तो इसके संग में संबंध रखूंगा, ये मेरे गुरु का भाई नहीं है तो तुम्हें जो करना है करो. This is all narrow-minded. And this is epidemic कहेंगे ना, नहीं epidemic, right? Epidemic. This is an epidemic in ISKCON. Widespread. Literally everyone has it. So this narrow-mindedness, we get so much caught up with that, and that's a huge obstacle for our growth, which means a chota sa drishtikon. I can't think bigger than that. Text number 12. Because you are a pure devotee of the Lord is always thinking of you, and you are also recognized by His all confidential devotees. Your life is meant for exemplary behavior, Dhruva. I therefore surprised. Why have you undertaken such an abominable task? अगर ये रिवेंज नहीं होता तो क्वेश्चन तो यही बनता ना, अरे हाउ कम ही इज एस्टैब्लिशिंग लॉ बिकॉज हिज ब्रदर हैज बीन किल्ड, व्हाई इट इज अबॉमिनेबल टास्क. अगर ये अबॉमिनेबल टास्क है तो फिर कृष्णा ने अर्जुन को क्या कहा, वो भी तो अबॉमिनेबल होना चाहिए. डिफरेंस इज justice versus revenge. What is abominable? Not justice. Abominable is revenge. There has been talked about it. And now it's a very interesting way how Swayambhu Manu is counseling. That's another point of view if you want to pay attention to it. Text number 13. Now our Swayambhu Manu says this very famous verse. Everyone, Tidikshaya karunaya maitra chakila jantushu samatvena cha sarvatma Bhagavan samprasidati. The Lord, Bhagavan samprasidati, Bhagavan प्रसन्न होते हैं. किससे प्रसन्न होते हैं? Samatvena cha sarvatma. Samatvena, equal vision, Samatvena सर्वात्मः तितिक्षुः कारुणः मैत्र चाखिल जंतुषु. चाखिल जंतुषु सभी जीव जंतु के प्रति एक समान दृष्टिकोण हो. समत्वेना सर्वात्मा. क्यों सर्वात्मा? बिकॉज सबके अंदर भगवान परमात्मा के रूप में विराजमान है. और तीन चीज कही गई हैं, और सब जीव जंतु के संग किस प्रकार का व्यवहार होना चाहिए? तितिक्षया धैर्य, करुणया कृपा, एंड मैत्रिया मित्रता का वो होना चाहिए. So Prabhupada writes in the purport about 3 types of devotees. It is the duty of an advanced devotee in the second stage of devotional perfection to act accordance with this verse. So ये मध्यम अधिकारी के लिए इंस्ट्रक्शन है. मध्यम अधिकारी को कैसे व्यवहार करना चाहिए. In the lower stage, devotee is simply concerned with the deity in the temple. He worships the Lord with great devotion according to rules and regulations. Second stage is cognizant of his relation to the Lord, his relation to the fellow devotees, his relation with persons who are innocent, his relation with persons who are envious. Sometimes devotees are irritated by envious person. It is advised that an advanced devotee should be tolerant. He should show complete mercy to persons who are ignorant or innocent. A preacher devotee, important, Prabhupada is using the word preacher, those who are actually dealing with the public, what they should be. A preacher devotee is meant to show mercy to innocent, whom he can elevate to devotional service. Everyone by constitutional position is eternal servant of God. Therefore, devotee's business to awaken everyone's Krishna consciousness. That is his karunaya, mercy. ठीक है, it's a beautiful puppet, but good enough for the timing. And text number 14, what will happen if you gratify the Lord, please the Lord? One occasionally, samprasanne bhagavati purusha prakrite guणे विमुक्तो जीव निर्मुक्तो ब्रह्म निर्वाण उच्यते. जैसे भगवान कहते हैं देवी गुण ऐशमाही, देवी गुण क्या है? देवी एश गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्य मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते. जब आप मेरी शरण लेते हो तो मैं आपको उससे मुक्त करा दूंगा. तो वही चीज़, जब भगवान प्रसन्न होंगे तो हम 3 गुणों के प्रभाव से मुक्त होंगे. टेक्स्ट नंबर 15. तो टेक्स्ट नंबर 15 लेते हैं यहाँ, उसके बाद विल पॉज. सो टेक्स्ट नंबर 15, द क्रिएशन ऑफ द मेटेरियल वर्ल्ड बिगिंस विद द 5 एलिमेंट्स. सुशीला विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर राइट्स, इतना सब बोलने के बाद भी स्वयं बहुमनु ने देखा कि ध्रुव महाराज अभी भी अपने भाई के मृत्यु पे what do you say, he's lamenting क्या कहेंगे, निराशा, शोक. So he is still affected by the loss of his brother. तो उस शोक को खत्म करने के लिए स्वयं भूमनु कहते हैं the creation of the material world begins with the 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? Bhumi, Rapa, Nalo, Vayu. And thus everything into the body of a man or a woman is created by these elements. By the sexual life of man and woman, the number of man and woman in this material world is a further increase. Purport. When Swayambhu saw that Dhruva Maharaj understood the philosophy of Vaishnavism, yet was still dissatisfied because of his brother's death, he gave him an explanation of how this material body is created by 5 elements of material nature. इसी पैराग्राफ की आखिरी की 3-4 लाइन. Swayambhuva Manu wanted to impress on Dhruva Maharaj that the death of the material body of his brother was not actually the Yaksha's fault. It was an act of material nature. But material nature does not act independently. Maya Dakshina Prakriti Suvete Sacharacharam. अभी आगे जाके जिसका हम उल्लेख करेंगे. तो उत्तमा की मृत्यु के लिए जिम्मेदार कौन था? नहीं, जिम्मेदार तो नहीं कहेंगे, बट who caused the death of Uttama? Who caused the death of Uttama? Who caused the death of Uttama? Mother. Okay, how?
Because she did a Vaishnava apparat.
उसमें उत्तमा का क्या कार्य करा देता?
Basically, she was fighting for him.
Own karma. Okay, Mother Chintamani says own karma. So Swayambhu Manu will say, देखिए जो कुछ होता है भगवान की इच्छा के अनुसार होता है. और भगवान ने आपको पहले ही बता दिया था. ध्रुव भूल गए कि उत्तम भविष्य में जाके ऐसे ऐसे मरेगा. तो ध्रुव बोलते हैं अच्छा, इसका मतलब भगवान ने मारा है. भगवान ने बोला तो भगवान ने मारा है. No, भगवान ने नहीं मारा है. भगवान told you what's going to happen, but after all it's a karma of every living entity. ये तो अपने कर्म के अनुसार चल रहा है. So सुरुचि के संग जो हुआ उसका वैष्णव अपराध का फल था. उत्तम के संग अपनी डेस्टिनी के साथ हुआ, और सुरुचि had a very terrible death. Out of separation of her son, can't even imagine how she would have suffered. So like that's the point here. So अभी आगे जाकर जो 16 से लेकर 26 श्लोक है, वहाँ पे स्वयं मनु संक्षिप्त भगवद गीता बोलने वाले हैं. 5 सब्जेक्ट मैटर ऑफ भगवद गीता. ईश्वर, काल, कर्म, प्रकृति, जीव, 5 विषय आ जाएंगे. आपकी संपूर्ण भगवद गीता का रिवीजन हो जाएगा अगले 10 श्लोकों में. उसको हम कल देखेंगे. एंड उसके बाद फिर आगे की कहानी रहेगी. विल सी दैट. दिस आर वेरी ब्यूटीफुल verses and purport. And yeah, correct. Okay, so I'll pause here. It's 9 o'clock. We got late in starting today because there was some discussion going on. I'll try to conclude this discussion tomorrow on this chapter. Questions, yeah. Questions, and maybe we can just quickly do some revision because there were some points we talked about it. Even I would not remember what we discussed. Yes, Shri will take a question. In the meantime, if somebody have noted certain things, we can just read out some take-home message for today. Yeah.
Yes, so Roji, when we see any near dear ones getting affected, like mass butchering in Bangladesh, being a devotee, or something wrong happens within family members, so at that time 2 things come immediately into the mind. Who has done it? Because naturally that revenge comes, or other, if we are higher, then we can think of justice chahiye. So in that case, this philosophy still stands true that whatever happened with the individual, it is also like Prabhupada wrote few verses back in purport that karma is there, law and order maintains के लिए से mass killing हो जाता है, whatever. So now, what is our perspective to console, understand that person's situation also, and also not getting aggrieved because they are near dear ones to us. If something happens, because one side
Okay,
also
there are
wants
two things to
justice.
it.
Justice is also,
So, see, justice is a duty of a Kshatriya, not for a Vaishya and Shudra. वो बैठे बैठे ताली बजाते रहे तो क्या फर्क पड़ने वाला है? We have to see what is my influence, what can I really do. The challenge that we all face, and we all have to face it, and we have to be conscious of it, क्योंकि एक तो हमारा वर्ण निर्धारित नहीं है, तो हमें पता ही नहीं होता हमें किस प्रकार से कार्य करना है. So we go through all the mixed feelings, and I also go through that. This is just something which is part of it, and like that. Now coming to the question, how are we supposed to react? Again, whatever is the mode of consciousness prevalent in that person, the first response will be according to that. Somebody has a tamaguna or rajaguna, sattva-guna, first reaction would be according to that prominent mode. Is it right? Is it wrong? Very difficult to say. In such a situation, best course of action would be again to work under the guidance. What should I do? Because one thing that's going to happen to all of us is we will be emotionally disturbed. And when we are emotionally disturbed, we're not in the right situation to make decision. See, Arjuna, he got too emotional. Therefore, he said, "Yeah, hell with everything, Krishna. I don't know what I'm saying." The fifth reason was indecision. ना मुझे ये भी नहीं पता कि लड़ना ही नहीं लड़ना है. तुम ही बोलो यार क्या करूँ मैं. That happens in emotions. So when we are carried away by emotions, so we got to ask, if we are able to ask, which is, as you were saying rightly, training. So through that training, we cultivate that. Whenever you're in challenge, ask. If not, if in case we haven't had that enough training, then at least have a relationship. That person can come out of his kind and a compassion, come and tell you, Prabhu, don't do like this. And because you have that strength of relationship, that strength of relationship can hold you back from your wrong actions. और वो गलत कार्य से तुम और अपनी विपदा बढ़ाओगे. And that's how this revenge, therefore if you see, revenge never ends. It goes on back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There is no end for it. Because it was never done on the pretext of justice, it was always done on revenge. You take revenge, that fellow says, I'll take revenge. He takes revenge, then you say, I'll take revenge. And it goes on forever, like that. Yeah, that's okay, fine. Okay?
Yeah, sorry. I'm not looking for white and black, but little further more on this. Like some case happened, so if devotee has to go for justice to the court or police,
Okay.
so going to the court or police could be instantaneously, he will go because it's part of law. But how much he'll put effort or fight, that will be discussed with, like, how does he get instruction or guidance from senior. That's what you're trying to say?
What I'm trying to say here is, when you have faced certain crisis, as you're saying, कुछ unjust आपके परिवार या प्रियजनों के संग हुआ है, हमारी पहली रिएक्शन होगी हमारे मोड्स के अनुसार. और आप अलग अलग मोड में अलग अलग प्रकार से व्यवहार करोगे. सत्वगुण में तो फिर भी स्टिल वी कैन एक्सपेक्ट देयर विल बी सम डिसेंट रिस्पांस. रजोगुण तमोगुण में इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू से बी डिसेंट, वो डिस्ट्रक्टिव ही रिस्पांस होगा. So now that's the first thing. Second thing, what is the best way to work on it is to work with the guidance. Because why with guidance? Am I not qualified? I'm here for 20 years, 30 years. Can I make a decision? Point is, yeah, but if you're carried away by emotions, then you cannot make a decision. Like Arjuna, he was 89-year-old, but he got carried away by emotions. I mean, who could be more in Sattva-guna than Arjuna? So he got carried away by emotions, therefore he was making wrong choices. And in fact, he didn't know what choice to make. He was bewildered. So emotion generally does that. Emotions will make you bewildered. What to do, what not to do, you don't know. You can't make a decision. So right course of action is work under guidance. Now you can work under guidance, as I said, if you have invested on a relationship where you have trust. This guidance is good for me. And without investing in a relationship, without going through the process of building trust, you can't just go to somebody who you think is senior and take guidance and wholeheartedly accept. It will not happen. Because your mind is still yelling. Look about Arjuna. Did he agree? He agreed at the 18th chapter. Why Krishna had to speak all 18th chapter? Krishna was, Arjuna, get a fight, period. Chup. तू भूल गया तो मेरा अंश है. Simple. Why Krishna have to speak so much? It shows that it's back and forth. It's not so easy to get convinced. So unless we have that set of relationship, we have the trust in the person from whom we are taking guidance. We cannot. Mind will not. It's not about you and me. It's about the mind, which is not your energy, not under your control. They will not allow you to happen. So that's the only way for it. Okay. Okay, so any take-home thing, what we discussed, few things we discussed, I believe. We talked about justice versus revenge. What was the point prior to that we talked about?
Six enemies.
6 enemies?
How to protect.
Yeah, that's okay, 6 enemies. And between 6 enemies and this justice and revenge, we discussed something? Yeah, that was the point. How do we understand? Excessive. What is excessive? Because when it crosses the justice limit, it goes to revenge. Like that. Okay. Very important. In what context I was speaking on narrow-mindedness?
Maya, what after Maya?
Yeah, that I said what is it? In context of what discussion I was making a point here. Anyway, so we were discussing about the narrow-mindedness, the challenge which practicing devotees faces. It's a challenge for everyone, 100% everyone. But amongst the devotees, now they're supposed to be better. They are better in certain things, but one challenge which remains with them, जिसके बारे में वो कभी सोच भी नहीं पाते, उनका सीमित दृष्टिकोण, वो उसी पे अटक के रह जाते हैं. इसलिए वो व्यक्ति बार-बार जस्टिफाई करता रहता है, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा बात करता रहता है, but he cannot understand there could be an alternative better than that. Oh yeah, I was talking about when Prabhupada said Dhruva Maharaj did not argue with Swayambhuva Manu. When do you argue? When you think your opinion is right. तो इसलिए आप आर्ग्यू करते हैं. Dhruva Maharaj did not argue, which means he was broad-minded. He could quickly understand Swayambhuva Manu's point of view. अगर वो narrow-minded होता तो फिर वो व्यक्ति आर्ग्यू करता, जस्टिफाई करता. Why do you justify and argue? Because of narrow-mindedness. उसको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा सामने वाला क्या बता रहा है. That was a very important point. Okay. Anything else? That was the thing.
One
Question? Yeah.
Prabhuji, I was just thinking that Dhruva Maharaj killing that one yaksha, was it also justice or revenge?
Justice. That would have been called as a justice because yaksha unnecessarily killed Uttama. If it would have ended over there, it would have been justice. There could be a set of little bit of revenge, that's okay. But that still would have been part of justice. It would not have been considered illegal.
Okay.
But excessive killing, there's no justice in it.
But what if all the yakshas are protecting that yaksha? I mean, at least when I had read, I thought that it is that entire army is protecting, and that's why.
Which is true, So looks like how Swayambhuva Manu is presenting the idea. There was an opportunity for Dhruva to walk away at some point of time in the battle. If you read in the previous chapter, particularly at one point of time it was mentioned that Dhruva had killed so many yakshas. There was no more yakshas, and he was thinking of entering the city. Now if it was just for justice system, thing like that, he could have walked away. But he stayed there. Now you're not dealing with the people who are also saintly. So you can't expect कि प्रभु जी वो मेरे पे हमला नहीं करते तो मैं चुपचाप चला जाता. मैं थोड़ा सिटी तो घूमने जा रहा था, थोड़ा घूमना देते. You can't expect that way. So you expect right decision from those who are mature, and you're talking about Dhruva Maharaj here. So it looks in that angle that therefore someone is saying this is too much now. So there was an opportunity for you to walk away, knowing that they are of lower nature. They would fight. They will continue to fight. But once you realize that you have won, you have defeated, you could have walked away. You could have retreated, but you never retreated. And if you're gonna stay there, fight is gonna continue. So that's the point. Okay. And that king in the previous chapter that he wanted to enter Alkapuri, सोचा मैं देख कर आता हूँ कैसा है, क्या कर रहा है यहाँ पे, तू जाएगा तो लड़ाई नहीं होगी क्या? Anyways, you're killing the people. Their defense, they'll fight further. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.